Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Alanna Fox Starks. Hey guys, how are you doing today? Schumann resonance was very, very low today. 15 hertz. Once. Not much going on there. Isn't that curious after our massive energy flow? Does that mean there's no energy flowing? No. Just means it's not registering it. Why, I can't say. But we've had massive amounts of energy today. Many downloads, many light downloads. Much energy. I am blown away, actually, by the amount of energy I felt today. Woke up around 9:45. I'm on Eastern Standard Time down here in Ecuador, so about 6:45 a.m. California time. And oh my God, I was just burning up. I mean, I don't wear much to bed, and I don't want to disclose too much, but I just had on a t-shirt, okay? Just a really old, very thin t-shirt laying on top of my covers, and I was burning up. I was so hot. Just the energy was pouring off me. I felt this really intense heat wave, almost like I had a fever, but I don't. Not sick at all. It's just the Ascension flu. Headaches all day. Been drinking water. I've been drinking magnesium with it a little bit. Headaches all day. That seems to be a common Ascension symptom for the week. There's been other reports that people are having problems with their legs and their feet. Some people have been taking time off work because they've been so exhausted, and they don't feel sick, but they don't feel quite right. If that's you, if that's happening to you, don't worry about it. You're going to be okay. It's just part of what we need to get through this ascension. That's what's going on this week. You might be feeling that you're stuck and you want to go somewhere, but you can't go. You want to do something or make a change or move in your life, and you just haven't been able to do it. Probably that might be Mercury retrograde holding you back. It's also part of what's going on with the ascension this week, in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm there with you. If you let it get out of hand and you don't channel the emotions out in meditation, it might result in a knee injury or an ankle injury. So just be aware of it. You can't go where you need to go because it's not time yet. The divine timing has to be correct. The divine timing will be probably a week after the 28th of March, which is coming up. It's about a week and a half. Everything will be fine in a week and a half. What a difference a day makes, we've said before. So we'll say it again. Although we could modify that and say, hey, what a difference 10 days makes. So, I don't know. I mean, my youngest kid has decided this past week he was going to give in to the spiritual awakening that he had and see where it leads him. And he's been following his hunches and his intuitions. His intuitions about people have proved in several cases to be absolutely true. His first gut instinct, and he's learning to trust that. I thought that was pretty cool. And he's been trusting the energy of going somewhere. Like he'll go, Mom, I got to go downtown. Well, what are you going to do? I don't know. There's someone I got to meet down there. A couple times now, he's gone downtown and met people just in the nick of divine timing. And it's just all been working out just perfect. Like he goes down the street the other day and ran into someone who wanted to talk about quantum mechanics and the inner workings of the universe. Yesterday, he got a scholarship to play violin just because he had a feeling to go downtown yesterday. So that's pretty cool. What feelings or hunches do you have in your life that you're not following, and what can you be following? So as you go through all of the Ascension Flu Symptoms, start paying attention to those divine timing cycles. I forgot to mention, though, another Ascension Flu Symptom is just intense pain. People are having pain throughout their body, back, neck, headache, a lot of pain today. So if it's related to past emotional stuff, past life stuff, any past junk you haven't cleared out, try to clear it out. If it is resistance because you're not so sure about all the energy flowing through your body and you're feeling a little nervous about the ascension, that's another ascension symptom. Panic attacks and anxieties have been reported quite a bit this past week. I think that's because we have Aries. The sun sign Aries is coming up, and that always leads to head injuries if you're not careful, if you especially are in Aries and you're not paying attention. I don't know what the moon is in. I'm not an astrologer. Don't ask me about that stuff. But it's just some things I want you to pay attention to. Make sure you're not resisting, because when you're resisting the energy coming through you, that will cause a little bit of drag, and the drag causes a little bit of pain until you accept it. So take a deep breath, take a glass of water, meditate, and just keep accepting that this is okay. Our bodies are meant to handle this. It's coded in our DNA since the dawn of time that this was eventually going to happen. So everything that's happening to us is natural, even though it feels supernatural. It's just what we're going through as a species. We are evolving. The animals are also evolving. They're coming up too. Everyone is coming up. So I have some Earth changes news, big Earth changes news, but not so big that it was destructive. We're in the fifth dimension now. We're in the very bottom rung of the fifth dimension, and a lot of the changes are good and strange. Well, you'll see what I mean. This week saw the fifth mild earthquake in the Alabama-Florida border area. We have had, in 3 weeks, 5 earthquakes in that part of the world, 0 injuries. Most of the earthquakes were super mild, like in the 2.9 range. So it's normal, but it just seems a little bit more than usual, but it's still normal. And no injuries. I'm also happy to report that there were 0 injuries in the 4.9 and the 3.7 earthquakes that struck Western France this past week in the Bordeaux area. Later, after those 2 earthquakes struck, there was one in Brittany the next day coming in at 3.7, and again, no injuries. I'm so happy to report there were no injuries. In the past, I think 3 days, I think it was on Monday, actually, last Monday, in the past week and a half, the volcano outside of Mexico City blew its top. It erupted, absolutely exploded its top. That is the Popocatépetl volcano near Mexico City, and again, no injuries. It just feels so good to say that for 3 major things, 4 major things. It's like no injuries. Yay. In a NASA study, they have recently discovered that the largest glacier in Greenland that was losing the most mass, melting at the fastest rate, not only has stopped melting, but now has reversed over the past 2 years, and they are shocked. They don't know what's causing it exactly, except they think it's the climate change, and the northern Atlantic ocean temperature has actually gone down by 3.6 degrees. So, I don't know. I mean, global warming usually leads into a disaster in the way of severe global cooling and the coming global superstorm and another ice age. So I don't know to be happy about this or not. No injuries report. Woohoo! But the Jakobshavn Glacier in Greenland has grown back over the past 2 years to where it was just a few years ago. They don't expect the trend to continue, though, and they do think it will start to melt again once this current weather pattern has changed directions one more time. All right, here is the super strange news of the day or the past week. There has been a plague upon Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, of the poisonous toad proportion. Thousands upon thousands of poisonous toads have suddenly descended upon the city, and people are fearing for the safety, health, and welfare of their small children and pets. It just sounds crazy biblical, guys. Poisonous toads. There are thousands and thousands. They were reported last Friday. They're getting into people's gardens. They're getting into people's swimming pools. They're getting into people's yards. So I hope that the people of Palm Beach Gardens, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, bring in a herd of cats. I don't know what eats toads, but the toads are poisonous. So I honestly don't know what they're going to do. There's got to be a natural predator for these things. They did say, though, because of an extremely healthy breeding cycle, this happened, and they are now expecting thousands upon thousands more poisonous toads. The toads are the cane toads or the buffo toad. Buffo or buffo? I don't know. They didn't look all that buff to me, but they're toads and they're coming. There's more to come. This is another weird one. December 18th, 2018, just a few months ago, there was an enormous meteor explosion over the Bering Sea, and nobody was there to hear it or see it or notice it. In fact, NASA only recently discovered on their cameras as they're going back over that this little tiny, only 32 feet diameter across, this little tiny meteor exploded with 10 times the energy of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. But because it was in the upper atmosphere, 15.5 miles up, and it came in at over 71,000 miles per hour and exploded so far up that it literally affected nobody and nothing. It was over an unpopulated area in the Bering Sea. So it's pretty strange. I mean, usually NASA is looking for things that are 460 feet across or larger, and this one went unnoticed for a time, like 4 months time. So how weird is that? There was also another weird one, a rare type of sunfish rolled up on the beach dead, and this couple were out on a romantic stroll in the South Australian beach in the Coorong National Park last week, and the sunfish they came across was 6 feet long, and this type there's 3 types in the area. This is the most rare. They very rarely ever see them. Nobody ever fishes for these fish. They are an ancient primordial fish. They look real strange. If you go back through my episodes, I've mentioned some problems, I won't say problems I've had with sunfish, but some very strange happenings that I've had with sunfish. I am famous in the animal world. Some animals, even the rare ones, and sometimes the wild ones, they recognize my energy and they recognize me. So I'm a rock star, but only in the animal kingdom. Anyway, this rare sunfish, this type of sunfish that came up to the shore, and I don't know if it was dead when it came up or if it beached itself. No one really knows. They came upon it, it had already deceased. This particular type of sunfish, when it is fully grown, can be 12 feet across and weigh the same as a small car. The one that they found was only 6 feet across. So that is my weird news for this week, I guess. There was so many strange things, so many earth changes and strange things, I just had to report it. So I'm going to take a little break, and when I come back, I am going to talk about totem animals. How do you discover your totem animal? And even though, like yesterday when I did the thing on creepy crawlies, what they mean in your life, I did mention also that people have different meanings particular to them in their own situation. And so don't ever take what somebody says, even if it's me, don't take what someone says 100%, because sometimes something is meant only for you. Like maybe a white feather means something for everybody the same, but for you it means something a little bit deeper. So when it comes to totem animals, it is no different. You might have a specific totem animal. You could look it up on 100 different websites and maybe get 100 answers, or 98 will be the same and 2 will be different. But still, that animal was going to mean something different for you in particular, because you are an individual and you are unique. So we're going to talk about totem animals tonight, coming up, and you're going to know by the end of the night how to find out what your totem animal is, and, well, what do you do with a totem animal once you understand what it is? How does it help you in your life and on your journey, on your ascension path, and in your spiritual days? Well, we're going to find out when you come right back. Hey you, have you ever thought about having your own podcast like me? Was it even a New Year's resolution? For me, it sure was. But as I've been looking into this for months, I was daunted. There's so many questions I had. When I was trying to get this off the ground, I was wondering, how do I record the episode? How do I get it across all the platforms? How do I get my podcast on Apple Podcasts when I don't even have an iPhone? How do I get it onto Spotify and all the other places? How do I get people to listen? And how do I make money from my podcast? How do I edit it? Oh my God, I had all these questions, and I was so confused until I discovered the simple answer is Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free, and it is ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. All you need to do is record it. You don't have to go out and look for people to advertise on your show. They help you. So basically what I like about podcasting is I don't have to have a video of myself. You don't know if my hair is dirty or if I'm still in my pajamas or even if I'm wearing makeup. Haha. And it's so easy. I could do this from the comfort of my own home in my living room using this amazing app right from my cell phone. So easy, right? So if you've always wanted to start your own podcast and make money, by the way, doing it, please go to anchor.fm/start. That is anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters that are already using Anchor. Again, that's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast, and I can't wait to favorite you. Woohoo! Let's be broadcast podcast buddies. I'll see you there. All right, guys. So tonight's topic is totem animals. What is a totem animal? A totem animal is an animal that is a part of your life or a part of your personality or identity in a spiritual way. So basically, a totem animal is one that's with you all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. And it could be an actual animal spirit that is with you all the time, no matter what. Or might be an animal spirit that comes and goes at various points and junctures of your life. But they're like a part of your identity. And it could be over this life or many, many lifetimes. And when you start asking and you start becoming curious about your totem animal or totem animals, because we usually have more than one, basically what happens is you will start asking, you'll start being interested in this, and you'll start noticing animals. So you might be, in a shopping center or on a bus or somewhere in public, and you'll just start noticing that people have t-shirts with wolves on it or tattoos on their arms of wolves, or you might meet someone and their last name is Lobos, which means wolf in Spanish, or even the last name Wolf. I actually used to have a very good friend named Michael Wolf who lived in LA. So basically, once you start asking and questioning and wondering, who is my totem animal? That animal will start showing up over and over and over again. And sometimes, even if you already know all of your totem animals, and once you're well seasoned in this, even if you've known for 20 years who your animals are, they will come to you when they are needed, when they have a specific message or a life lesson for you to learn, or they're just trying to remind you of something that you should know. They will come into your life and they will it'll be like prevalent everywhere. It'll be on billboards, sides of buses, like I said, tattoos or t-shirts that come into your energetic field of awareness. They will show up in your dreams. They'll be in movies, TV shows. People will mention them. Books will come across your path. It'll be in the newspaper. I mean, any time they can have an in, they will let you know that they're there and they're there with a message. So, do you have to be Native American to have a totem animal? Oh, of course not. Everybody on the planet has totem animals. Even like people in Borneo, their totem animal might be a crocodile. Crocodiles are very popular and they're considered as gods. A lot of people have that as their totem over like in Indonesia, Borneo area. Or if you're in South America, here in the jungle, of Ecuador or Peru or Colombia, you might have as a totem animal a jaguar. Jaguars are very powerful animals and they're very well known and respected and revered. But at the same time, you might have a totem that's a parrot, a wild parrot, or a tarantula, or a mouse. There's various types of animals. It doesn't have to always be the most ferocious, fierce animal. And what you'll learn is after you discover who your animals are, you start looking up what the personalities are of these animals, what qualities these animals have, you're going to go, oh, well, gosh, that's just so much like me. Oh, yeah, okay. I have an owl totem. I can't go to sleep at night worth anything. Oh, yeah, it's totally like me. Yeah, I'm a night owl. Well, that makes sense. Owl's my totem, for example. How many totem animals can you have? Is it greedy to have more than 2? No, gosh, of course not. You can have, on average, 9 animals that are your totem. It doesn't mean that you definitely have 9. You might have 4 or 5. You might have 11 or 12. If you tend to work with animals a lot, you might have more. In Native American tradition, it's thought that people have 9 on average. You might have the animals that you dream with, and you might have the animals that come into your awareness during the day. Like if your totem animal is hummingbirds and you're surrounded by hummingbirds all the time, that might be your totem animal. I had a friend who said, it's the weirdest thing. Everywhere I've ever lived my whole life, turtles keep showing up. There's turtles. Like I could live in the middle of a city and go out live in a house and go out in the backyard and there's a turtle in the pond. And ask the roommates, is your turtle? No, it just showed up yesterday, the day you moved in. I've had people tell me this. I've got a turtle and the turtles are everywhere. It's so crazy. And the person that told me this, she was always on the go. Run. A mile a minute. She'd wake up at 6 in the morning and she wouldn't go to bed till 3 in the morning. And she was running herself ragged constantly. Just kind of go, type A personality, Got to get this done, got to get that done, got to socialize with this group and that group over there, and I got to come home and do my studies, and I got to go to work. Like constantly on the go. And what was so weird is turtle kept showing up. And sometimes an animal will show up and they're just a spirit messenger. And so if you need a specific thing, that animal messenger will show up once or twice, you know what I mean? Just so you get the message and then, oh, okay, cool. I get it. Like I was just telling my friend Philip the other day that I was in Guatemala with my kids, and the one time I get out of bed and run to the bathroom in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd just woken up, and it was the first and only time in Guatemala that I did not put my shoes on first before going to the bathroom. I was in my apartment, which was literally in the colonial mansion area of Antigua, Guatemala, and it was literally this enormous mansion that we lived in, and it was cut up and carved up into little apartments and then painted super hideous colors. One of them, the one above us, was purple and blue. It was gorgeous. Purple and blue and a pale turquoise. And I'm like, oh, that place was perfect. But no, we had to get the creamsicle orange and Ronald McDonald red and mustard yellow. Ugly as sin. Apartment was so ugly. The floor was literally painted red. Wasn't tiles. It was concrete painted red. But it was a mansion, and it was an ancient mansion. It was like old. It was like hundreds of years old. Old mansion. Colonial mansion. Anyway, in my colonial mansion, the maid had just come. She had just cleaned and mopped all the floors. It was clean. 8 in the morning, I wake up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to go to the bathroom, so I don't feel like putting my shoes on. Live a little, Elena. Don't be so rigid. You don't have to be a Virgo. And I ran to the bathroom, and I came back, and there's this huge tarantula in my bedroom, right next to my bed. Needless to say, I freaked out, and I couldn't stop screaming for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, I'm sorry, am I hurting your ears? Oh my God, you have 8 eyes, yeah, and 8 legs, maybe you have 8 ears. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're so adorable, you're so furry and brown and so adorable, but why are you here? Freaking out. But that wasn't my animal totem, my totem animal. He was a spirit messenger. I don't know of what, though. I still don't know to this day. Maybe he wanted me to be more creative and maybe make a better life for myself. I don't know. I don't know what his message was. Maybe his message was just to keep my shoes on. Because he never came back again, and my oldest is super brave and went and just grabbed him in his hands and pet him and took him outside, and it was all sweet. And tarantulas are really, really sweet creatures, but I don't know. It's like when you don't expect it, and it's a spider out of nowhere, and it's bigger than my fist and enormous and hairy and brown and all kinds of scary and adorable all mixed into one thing. It's like, oh my God. But sometimes you'll have a messenger, and, so like if a hummingbird shows up, it just means that you need to live a little, maybe you're eating too much sugar because they consume a lot of sugar. Maybe you are, maybe you need to speed up, all the messages will be specific to your current thing. So what if you are acting like a turtle and you're being very slow and lethargic and kind of barely getting through your days and you're sleeping a lot, and then a hummingbird starts showing up in your energy field, that might mean that you need to pep yourself up and you need to be on the go more. Like I said, the animals will have their messages that in general come with them, and then the animals will have their messages that are absolutely specifically tailor-made to you. So, how do you find out about your totem? Well, for me, I have sat in observation, and I looked backwards over my life from the beginning. And if I am to be honest, ravens have always been a part of my life, because ever since I was very, very little, I think I mentioned this a couple times before, I had grandfather Raven. He came to my window when I was about 3 years old, and he would knock on my window with his little beak every single morning, really early, like 5 or 6 in the morning. And I would sit up and I would pull my curtains back, and I would look at him, and he'd look at me, and he would mentally communicate with me, telepathy, and ask me if I'm ready for my lessons of the day. And he gave me lessons, and he was my spirit animal, but he was my totem. And in very important parts of my life, throughout my life, ravens have always been there. Ravens are a sign. If a raven is your totem and you have the personality of a raven, that means that it's possible you could speak to the dead. You like to talk a lot, and you are a healer. Ravens are always a part of a totem in someone who is a healer. In fact, I had a friend who he and I worked together in gay and lesbian adolescent social services in Los Angeles. We were counselors, and he had a spiritual awakening. And he went by the name of Greg for as long as I had remembered him. And then all of a sudden he's like, from this point forward, call me Raven. That's my name. My name is Raven. And he was a healer, but see, ravens are watchers also. And he used to send ravens out to watch me, to make sure I was okay. Like if he and I lost touch, he would always send a raven to go out and then mentally report back to him. Ravens are very good at telepathy. So that's like a way in which ravens are helpful. I had a raven help me with an exam once, sat outside the whole time, sat outside on a branch. I was on the 3rd story of a building in University of North Dakota, and my class was about religion and spirituality. And this raven sat outside and just stared at me and sent me messages about what I should write down. And when I got stuck, I'm like, okay, this is a question. And the raven told me the answer to the test. I got an A on that test. Ravens are smart. And I think that they're messengers from your spirit guides. You know, so for me, that's a huge part of my personality, and that's a huge part of my animal totem. But if you are inexplicably drawn to an animal, and you're just like, wow, I can't get enough of squirrels. All I think about is squirrels, and squirrels are everywhere. To the point where I'm eating nuts every day, and as a part of my diet, I love squirrels so much. And you're always thinking about the winter, and you're always thinking about, you know, I even have a grandpa squirrel. He lives on the Cherokee lands in Arkansas. His name literally is Squirrel. It's not a nickname. It's his actual name is Squirrel. It's something you find out in the South in the United States a lot, the name Squirrel. But, you know, it's like if squirrels are constantly in your, you know, vicinity and around you, that might be part of your totem. Might mean that you're really good at saving up. You're good at saving up for your retirement, or maybe it's something you need to think about and you haven't thought about it yet. If it's a messenger and it's just a spirit animal giving a spiritual message to you, then that would be the message. Oh, it's maybe you've got to think about your future a little bit more. Or incorporate nuts into your diet. I don't know. Or maybe you need to play more. Squirrels do like to play a lot. So another thing though, now, if you're inexplicably drawn to it and you can't stop thinking about it, or you have dreams about it, dream time is a great time to learn about your spiritual totem. But conversely, what if it's an animal you fear the most? What if you wake up in a cold sweat and the beads of sweat are running down your face and you're like, oh my God, I had another dream about this horrible creature. Oh my God. And it's like your whole life you've had nightmares about like a wolverine or a badger or a snake. Whether it's biting you or not, you might have had this your whole life. That actually means it's part of your totem. I'm sorry to say. You know, if you were bit by a dog and then you have nightmares for 3 months after, that's normal. That's PTSD. And your subconscious mind's trying to work out the trauma. But if you have had no ill contact with a dog your whole life, and yet you keep having these horrible dog dreams constantly, like for 20 years or something, that can mean that the dog is part of your totem. When you have an extreme fear of something, I know for a fact a snake is a part of my totem. But I had a past life in which I was killed in a horrible way with snakes. And I have 1 or 2 episodes of Metaphysical Soul Speak that I talk about that. But this last time when I went to the jungle, and I talked about this also, I went to the jungle and I was in Colombia. And I floated on down the river for 3 days to Iquitos, Peru. And I sat there in an animal preserve. Actually, the night before, I was trying to take a nap. It was during the day, actually. In the afternoon, I was trying to get a nap. It was kind of hot jungle, you know. And I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, almost about to fall asleep. And this is when that twilight period of sleep, right before you're right about to slip into absolute sleep. It's like those few minutes before, when you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep. That is an opportune time for your totem animal to come to you. Well, this happened to me when I was in the jungle. I felt the energy of a snake on my body, and it was a huge anaconda. And I felt it, and I felt its head crawling up my body, and it was on my chest, and it lifted up. And I expected, the energy was so powerful, I expected to see a little anaconda laying on top of me. And I opened my eyes, and there was nothing there. I sat up, and I looked around, and there was nothing in the room. I'm like, oh, I feel you, anaconda. I know you're here. And it's an anaconda that called me my whole life. I had dreams my whole life, and usually they were very fearful dreams. I'd wake up screaming. But throughout my life, I had many different snakes, many different kinds of snakes in my dreams, not just one kind. And this time it was not anaconda, but this is a recurring dream I had while I'm flying in the jungle above an anaconda that's like 100 feet long. They call that Pachamama. I didn't know that. It's a representation of the Kundalini energy of Mother Earth. And she called me to the jungle. And when I found an opportunity to go to a wildlife preserve, I went, took my kids. We all went. And I had an opportunity to meet an anaconda face to face. And I told the trainer, put him over there. I'm going to call him to me. And I told him out loud and with my mind, your people have been calling me here to this jungle my whole life. Please tell me your wisdom and give me your snake medicine if that's why I'm here. And he did. He gave me snake medicine. He looked me in the eyes, made eye contact with me, and I felt his spirit with me. And it was powerful. And afterwards, I pat him and I held him, and he crawled next to me from like it was about 10 or 20 feet away, and he crawled all the way over to me and made eye contact. Anacondas don't do that. And he was a 10-foot snake. He was a huge snake, and I was not afraid in his presence. Now, a couple days later, I was like, what the heck was I thinking? Oh my God, it's so scary. These enormous snakes. It's like, he could have killed me with one strike, But his energy was beautiful and very loving and sweet. He's kind of agitated. Too many people have been trying to touch him. It's like when you're in that energy of it and you're surrounded by that intense, powerful Mother Earth energy, you just don't really think about it, But I talked about this before in another episode. So we're going to move right along. So not only are you going to see this, whatever animals are in your totem on books and billboards and movies, and your friends will bring it up or whatever, but after you know your animals, you're going to realize that you have the same characteristics as them. And they're the same as you. So we're going to go over now what are some examples. They're symbols. They become symbols. And the more you learn about your totem, the more you're going to love it. Even if it's something you fear right now, the more you accept that part of yourself, the more you're going to realize, okay, like snakes for me is the one I was afraid of the most. I'm not afraid anymore. But the snake energy is about rejuvenation and Kundalini, owning your spiritual power, your serpent power. Snakes are the most unchanged animal on the planet because they started off perfect. So maybe in a way they represent spiritual perfection. And it took me a while to recognize that in myself, that's what I'm aiming to achieve, is spiritual perfection. And do I shed my skin? Absolutely. You find a big hunk of it in the corner. No, I'm just kidding. That's gross. That is so gross. I'm so sorry I even said that. Hey, Yoka. Hey, Yoka. There's my Hey, Yoka energy coming out. But, a snake does shed its skin, and it completely rejuvenates and starts afresh. I've had to start over many times in my life. That's what that means. Woo! You get to start over, get rid of everything. Yeah. It's happened maybe 3 or 4 times now. So who you are as a person is absolutely represented in your animals, in your totem. So if you are a hawk person, or your totem animal is a hawk, you're going to be absolutely interested in the truth. You might be blunt and cutting. Many, many times have you guys heard my hawk notification on my phone when I forget to turn off my notifications, and I'll be saying something and all of a sudden it's like, ee, you know? And that's kind of what a person with a hawk in their totem would do. It's like, oh, they'll just cut through the BS right now and they'll blurt out, hey. And that's what a hawk does. If you have the eagle, you might have an eagle eye. You might have the quality of being able to see through a situation immediately. I see your BS from a mile away. That would be someone with the eagle. My dad had eagle in his totem for sure. It's his favorite animal. Eagle also is a representation of someone who would mate for life. Somebody who falls in love and stays loyal. Eagles mate for life. If your totem is a dolphin, means you like to be playful and you like to hang out with your tribe. You probably hang out with a lot of your friends. You have good communication in your family. And you know, and that doesn't mean your actual family. Sometimes that just means your friends who become like family. And you have like pod-like behavior where you want to hang out with your friends. If you have wolf as your totem, might be the same thing. You know, you might have, you know, your wolf pack. Now I'm thinking of The Hangover. Oh my God, I love that. I love those movies. But your wolf, if you're a wolf, you would have wolf-like qualities, loyalty, dignity. You know, let's see, if you have bear, maybe you like to sleep a lot. Maybe you are overly protective of the ones you love. I'm sure I've got bear in my totem because I definitely am a mama bear. Especially when my kids were little. Man, I feel like I'd tear off the head of anyone who came within 50 feet of my kids. I mean, seriously, I'm a fierce protector of my kids. They know. They'll tell you. They said, oh, it's like, Mom, it's like I'm only 5 feet tall, but boy, they've said, Mom, you could get really scary, especially when you're protecting us. It's like, yeah, well, I've got that bear medicine. I got bear medicine in a past life. And I was slapped down by a bear, and I'll talk about that in the future, but literally I stood up to a grizzly bear. I stood my ground, and it slapped me in the face, and it did not kill me. It left me to die, but it did not kill me. And that was a gift because I got the energy of it, the medicine of it. So now I've got, you know, bear medicine or bear magic. And that's, you know, a direct result of that. But I always work with animals, but that's part of my totem. So if you have deer in your totem, you might have a very easygoing nature and very gentle, and you're very quiet, and you're very shy, and you're more of an observer than a participator. And that might be part of your personality. And deers are very regal and very beautiful. Another thing about the bear I wrote down. Bears they show brute strength. Sometimes they show laziness and they can be slow and they sleep a lot, but also they can be opportunists. So say you don't have bear in your totem and he just shows up as a spirit animal. He's probably telling you, it's time to start seeking out your opportunities. Bears are opportunists. They will eat whatever comes in their path that they feel like eating at the moment. They're omnivores, and they just are opportunists. I mean, you know, they could look in one direction and there's a bush full of berries, and they look in another direction and, well, would you look at that? There's a campfire with fresh fish cooking on it, and those people aren't looking. Oh, look, they left their door open. Yeah, that's an invitation for me to go right on in. When I lived in Grass Valley, in the newspaper, this was like the most hilarious story. There was a guy who reported to the police that his teenage son got up to go to school and was sleepy and rubbing his eyes as he walked past his father sitting on the couch watching TV. And then he went into the kitchen and he's like, "Dad, what's for breakfast?" And he heard this, "Oh." He's like, "What's wrong with you, Dad?" Like, his dad's not talking in complete sentences. He's just making these weird sounds. And he went into the kitchen, and the kitchen was a shambles. And, like, food was everywhere. The refrigerator door was open, and all the food was all over the kitchen. The kitchen was a disaster. And he was like, "Dad, what the heck happened to the kitchen?" And he ran into the other room, and that wasn't his dad sitting on the couch. It was a big old bear, a big brown bear, the California brown bear. And he was sitting on the couch with his feet up on the table like his dad would sit. And he had his hands on his lap the way his dad would sit. So he kind of like registered the position, but didn't register that it wasn't his own father. And he was sitting on the TV remote, which turned on the TV, and he was mesmerized by the TV. So after he ate the family out of the house and home, he just sat there and just watched TV. So, I mean, that would be an example. That's an extreme example of a spirit animal just showing up and hanging out in your house. They're opportunists. Oh, it was a hilarious one, though. My aunt in Minnesota had a moose come, and she literally had to call her work and say, "I cannot leave the house because, well, they're in Minnesota, when it's so cold, you bolt the front door shut sometimes, and then you use your back door, if that's the closest to your car, because it gets so cold you can literally freeze to death there. And so you have to put plastic sheets on your window, and you've got to seal up your house for the winter." That's why, spring cleaning is a thing, because when the snows melt, now you can open your windows and spring clean. But so she only has one door in and out of her house, and she goes to open that door, and there's this enormous moose, and the moose is just sitting there laying down, sleeping against the door. And she called in to work going, I'm calling in on account of moose. I can't go, I can't leave. And the moose spirit came to show her something, to tell her something about her life or something, like maybe sometimes you need a break. He literally forced her to take a break. And he slept there for 8 hours. And she's just like, I can't even go to work today, guys. I've got a moose. And the animal control people couldn't come. And it was just like, okay. So she was just like, there. All right. Work is called on account of moose. If you have coyote in your totem, you're probably a Heyoka shaman. Coyote is a trickster spirit, and they're playful and fun. They're like wild dogs, If you have fox, it would be the same thing. I have fox in my totem for sure. It's my name. It's Fox. And it's a trickster, playful, fun spirit. foxes will point out, they're very cunning and wise, but they'll point out what you need to pay attention to. I was on Catalina Island off the coast of California, and I went camping. I've done this many times. I love it there. And there's a government campground, a federal government. You could go and you pay. I mean, back in the day, it was like, I don't know, $12. Way when I was little, it was like $6. But $12 per night, I think, last time I went. And you bring your own food in and out. You're not allowed to leave any waste or anything behind, but it was worth it. I mean, I had to hike like 18 miles or something to get up there. I mean, I guess there is a bus, but there's not a lot. It's expensive. And I'm like, well, I'm young and able-bodied, and I was like 21, or maybe I was 20, maybe I was like 19 or 20. But I went up there, and they said that there are foxes. Watch out for the foxes. Don't leave food out. Okay, so the first thing I do is I'm going to leave some freaking crackers out. And I left them right outside my tent. And I wanted to see the fox. I put my face right up against the tent door. And I put crackers like inches from my face. I'm like, I'm going to catch him. I'm going to catch him. I'm going to outfox a fox, man. This is so fun. And I mean, 3 mornings, those crackers were gone and I never saw it. But the third morning, I kept it open so I could run outside really fast the minute I wake up. Because I'm going to catch that fox, darn it. I'm going to catch him. I just want to catch him and like take a picture, And so the third morning, I heard one little tiny sound. And I raced out of my tent, and I saw his big red fluffy tail, the same color as my own hair, taking off into the forest, and I laughed so hard. I'm all, third time, man, but I finally got to see you. Foxes are also tricksters, and very cunning. Owls are also, they're night hunters. They are up late, obviously all night long. They're very observant, and they can see things. They see things in the darkness. They're also associated with the dead and communication with the dead and spirits. Elephant and giraffe are also parts of people's totems. Laughing hyena would be just like a coyote or a fox. But elephants are there to remove your obstacles. They're very powerful. But they're also very gentle creatures. You might have elephant in your totem. My girlfriend has giraffe in her totem. She said it's the weirdest thing. She's like, grew up in mining town in Northern California in Grass Valley. And she's like, God, I have always my whole life been attracted to giraffes, and people have bought me anything to do with giraffes, like even like giraffe blankets or pillows with a pattern of a giraffe. She's like, her whole life she's been surrounded by giraffe things, which is so insane. She'd never seen a giraffe in real life even, and she's like, I just know it's part of my totem. And I'm like, well, it's because you're so tall. She was very tall. And she's like, yeah, thanks. That's the reason. And she was terrified of snakes. So I know, Jessica, if you're listening to this podcast, I know, honey, it's going to scare the crap out of you, but snake is part of your totem because you're afraid. But yeah, mouse, you can have a mouse as your totem. Does that mean that you're a lesser, meeker person? No, not at all. Mice are extremely resourceful. They know how not to get caught, from the bigger creatures. They're very wise, and they know when to make their move. You might have excellent timing if you're a mouse, if that's part of your totem. We talked yesterday at length about butterflies and dragonflies. That could be a part of your totem. Possibly even fireflies. Tarantulas for sure. Spider is a lot of people's totem. grandmother spider is very important. She's the weaver of the whole freaking world. She makes her own home. She makes her own life. And when her life collapses, she will make her own life again. She's resourceful and intelligent, and she's able to create and weave the patterns of her life. So these are examples. I mean, you can have, everything from a teeny tiny vole to an octopus to a whale. You can have anything as your totem. But you got to find out who your totem is. So online, you could go on YouTube and look up meditation to find your spirit animal or your totem. You could do a meditation. I'm thinking about, I might actually make a video or a meditation or a hypnosis session for this. And in the future, I'm going to put it on soulspeakradio.com, where you can purchase for a very minimal amount of money. Like, I'll probably make it for like $4.99 or something. And it'll be a download that you can listen to again and again, especially with totems, because you're going to want to know all of them, and you might get different animals come in every time. Like, I have a white buffalo is part of my totem, and white buffaloes are extremely rare. They symbolize the end times, the end of the earth, actually. So I ought to have known this whole time I was going to be a light worker helping during the Ascension, because, well, white buffalo, she has come to me, the white buffalo calf woman. She has been in my dreams since I was in my 20s. So I've had brown buffaloes and white buffaloes come to me in my dreams. And it's been really incredible. They're huge animals. I've had them just come and just walk up to me, and I could feel their breath on my face. They're so close to me in my dream. And it feels so real, like I'm in the spirit world with them. And I just reach out and I pet them. And they just kind of look at me with this power, but they don't say anything, and they don't go anywhere or do anything. And I feel like the buffalo spirit has an energy of strength, and also meditation, and also knowing when to keep quiet. There's still a lesson I need to learn, because, I'm always heckling random people, and I'm a hey yo guy, can't help that. It seems to me buffalo have a level of decorum that I have yet to master, so that's maybe why in my life the buffalo have come when they have. But you can have any number of, like, falcons or condors. If your animal has grace and beauty, maybe you have grace and beauty. And if your totem animal is a little clumsy, maybe you're a little clumsy. But there's always positive and negative aspects to every animal, from a human perspective anyway. But not one is greater or better than another. They're all equal. And in the animal kingdom, the animals know that. I mean, your animal might be that you're a pigeon. I think tomorrow I might tell you guys the ongoing saga of my pigeons out the window, Fred Nesthomer. It's been an ongoing story. There's been a lot of drama this whole Mercury retrograde cycle. I've been watching as all the steps took place. It's been pretty incredible. So I think that that might be something we go over tomorrow. But I mean, think about pigeons, they're like, people call them like the rats of the air, but even a rat can be a part of your totem. And both a rat and a pigeon are animals that are extremely resourceful, and they keep a positive attitude in spite of how others feel about them. Like, rats have a lot of chutzpah, man. They have no fear at all. You know, it's very weird. I mean, there's just different things to different animals. There's different, there's joy and beauty in every animal. So I hope that you guys can figure out who your animals are. Ask the god and the goddess, or whatever your version that you like to connect with, the divine. Ask the universe right before you go to sleep every night. Please show me my totem. Please show me my totem animal, or my totem animals. Let them come to me in my dreams. And then at night you ask, and then the next day ask again, and the next day ask again. And for some of you, especially if you're creative types, you might actually have a phoenix or a dragon or a griffin or a leviathan, or, you know, the kraken. You might have a mythical creature, a unicorn, as your totem. They're mythical because they don't exist in our world right now, but they might exist in the ethereal planes, and they might have at one time existed. You know? And who knows, you might even have an animal that doesn't even exist anymore. Maybe the dodo bird. You know, they're very peaceful. They lived on an island. They kind of kept to themselves. They're very trusting and sweet. You know, it's not a bad animal to have. And maybe you have dinosaurs. Ross Geller on Friends, maybe he has dinosaurs as his totem animal. Maybe there's one specific, you know. Maybe a pterodactyl is yours. You know, so don't judge it if you come up with an animal that just doesn't make much sense like that. Maybe it will in time make sense to you. So ask every day. This is how I found out all my past lives. I asked every single day for like 2 or 3 months. And then all of a sudden, boom, one after another, I started remembering my past lives. Now I've remembered like 20 past lives. So do this with your totem animals. One, every night. Keep a dream journal to the side of your bed. You could ask your dream angel to help you. Maybe there's a totem angel. Ask your totem angel. Ask your spirit guides. Ask your spiritual team. Every night, ask. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's a saying in the United States. And I'm saying it like this because a lot of my listeners are from France. Hello, bonjour. And a lot of my listeners are from Ireland. Jaguar. And I've got people in New Zealand and Australia now. I'm very, very happy to be spreading my messages of love and joy and heyoka insanity, crazy wisdom around the world. It's awesome. I even have listeners in Peru, Colombia, and Ecuador. It's pretty cool. But 61% of my listening audience does come from the United States, so I'm not talking down to you when I explain saying. It's just that, 40% might not be familiar with our phrases and our idioms and our idiosyncrasies of language, so bear with me. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that tonight, guys. I love you very, very much. Feel free to send me a message on anchor.fm/metaphysical. Follow me on Twitter at mermaidgirl888. Just keep in touch. Send me a message on anchor.fm/metaphysical. I'll put it on the air. Unless you say the word private, then I won't. But I have a new listener, by the way. I wanted to mention that before we cut out tonight. Ted Hunter added me on Spreaker as one of his favorite podcasts. I wanted to say thank you, Ted. I'm glad to have you on board. I'm glad you get to listen to my heyoka crazy wisdom, and I'm happy to have you as a listener. And anyone who I've forgotten over the past few weeks, I've gotten a lot of people adding me lately. I wanted to say thank you for favoriting my podcast. I'm sorry if I have missed you, but once you bring it to my attention, I'll name you on the air. Anyway, I love you guys all, and I hope you have a beautiful night and a lovely day tomorrow. But now it is time. I am signing off with peace and love and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.